All right, for this solo Omega episode, we're going to be kind of going over just some numbers, kind of like my routine, and then in up next few episodes and stuff like that, we're actually going to kind of like do a little bit more grinding, so you can kind of see more of the visceral kind of like time, I guess the time investment, kind of what I do on a daily basis. I think up to this point we've just kind of like captured kind of screenshots, high points and stuff like that, but I'm gonna walk you through kind of like the routine I go through every day, the numbers that I'm seeing as a solo account, and just kind of like help make some suggestions and kind of give some sort of perspective to what I'm actually doing and all of that. So we're writing most of this down. So in this first little section here, the routine, this is literally just what I go through, kind of every morning, whatever. I'll log in, I'll do my rewards, I'll get all that stuff kind of situated. And then literally the first thing I'm doing after that is just going to be checking SIGs. And that's just me undocking, checking agency, looking at SIGs, scanning everything, bookmarking. And kind of like, once I get everything scanned out, I can kind of see what my day is going to look like for the most part. Once everything is scanned and all that, I prioritize running the relics sites first. These are all your pirate relics. And then I'll do datas after that. And that's to get those done. And you just get them out of the way. And then also, depending on what SIGs I end up scanning down, the next priority would be any DED rated sites. So anything that I normally run, 6 to 10, 7 to 10s, 8 to 10s, get through all that stuff done, because that has both income in terms of the loot and also just the bounty from the rat kills. After that, usually the only thing really left that I might have not run that I scanned would be like normal unrated. So I'll usually take a break and then do my PI, move P1 over to my process planets, pull the process stuff out, and kind of take inventory of all that. And then once I get done with that, if there are any unrated sites, and that would be like your, let's say Greased base through Dread Greased Fleet staging point, I'll run any of those, get all those signatures cleared. And usually by this point, if there's any new SIGs that have popped up during any of this stuff, I'll rescan those, I'll clean bookmarks, and just, if stuff keeps popping up, if good, DED sites or relic sites keep popping up, I just kind of keep running those and keeping those cleared. And then usually one of the last things I do every day is I'll run like 1 to 2 hours of just regular combat noms. Now it just depends on how I feel. If I'm coming up a little shy on loot and I'm trying to bring it up to a certain number, I'll usually run like the golem through like havens or sanctums. If I've already done really well with loot and with bounties, with combat sites and everything like that, I might take the Tengu out and do anything from like rally points, ports, hubs, or kind of whatever my fancy is. But the good idea is just like put 1 to 2 hours in usually, and then once I kind of hit that ISK mark, that kind of goal, I'll kind of just check around, make sure there's no new SIGs that have popped up, and scan them if they do, or usually by that point I'm ready to log out. The other thing I'm doing during all of this is I'm running product discovery while I'm running combat sites, and whenever there's downtime, like if I'm doing a DED rated site and I'm traveling to a acceleration gate, anytime that there's time for me to do like a quick 5 submissions, I'm just doing it, because that's just extra ISK on top of everything else. Any of those skin crates end up going to Jita, which I usually sell in bulk at the end of the week and everything like that. So moving on to the numbers, and I've been doing this for I've been doing this routine for quite a while, but documented since I started the series. My numbers usually are anywhere between 300 million to 1 billion a day, and 50 to 60 mil of that comes from PI. And then, but I value it at what I pull out. I usually don't actually export, and I don't really sell the PI, but maybe like once every 2 weeks or something. Data relics on average daily can be low end 70 million to 200 million. The rated DED loot can be anywhere between 100 to 500 million. And in some cases, in extreme cases, you can pull some really good loot. I've had 8 of 10, 7 of 10s. I pulled a Gist X extra large shield booster out of a 7 of 10 once, which retails in Jita for like 1.4 billion. But that's really, really rare, so I don't really put it on the top end here. So DD rated loot, usually 100 to 500 mil. After I run all the unrated sites, all the DED sites and everything, I do combat noms, my rat bounties, I guess I should say, this would be like post ESS. So this would be counting, actually, yeah, post ESS is around 150 to 300 million. And then Project Discovery ends up being about 23 million over the course of the rewards and then selling the skin boxes per day. If I decide to do Project Discovery on any of my other alts, that actually turns into more of like a 70 million. But I figure I'll just frame this kind of just in this single character that I'm running. So 300 to a billion a day, and that total hours played actually only comes down to about 2 to 3 hours. And 2 of those hours are actually just kind of running combat noms, waiting for SIGs, and just kind of like, you know, plussing up the wallet a little bit. When you get really good at running the data relic sites efficiently and the DED, you get used to running the DED rated sites, you know how they operate, and even more so with unrated, when you know kind of what you have to do in each one to kind of progress, it goes by really, really quick. Now, for me, I know a lot of people, you can make a lot more as a solo than this, but in null-sec, you're relatively risk-free if there's nobody in the system. Most of the time there's nobody around, and I mean I'm always acting, I'm always ready to jump or do something. I'm always ready to react if something good comes into system. But for the most part, I'm just running kind of unbothered all day. If I decide to run and play more than 3 hours, then this ends up just scaling past this quite a bit. I've come in and I've run 4 data relic sites in the first 30 minutes of being online and pulled 300 million, right? A lot of it is very random depending on like SIGs, had things been cherry picked, but over the course of like a month plus, the 300 to 1 bill a day, that 300 to 1 bill over the course of 2 to 3 hours is what I'm seeing. And that's just being solo, not running any other tunes or anything like that. So the next thing we'll go over is just kind of what to run, what to loot. And this is going to give you an idea, like, depending on where you're at, what you should be doing, what you're running. What I do is I run all pirate relic data sites. But I also do covert, I also do ghost sites, but those are a little more tricky because if you fail those hacks, they will blow up your ship and then they'll have rats in like 2 minutes after, coming on site. So those are a little rare to see. They have good reward, but for the most part, the biggest priority is just the pirate relic data sites, which have no rats at all. So if you see those, run those. I run any and all DD rated 6 of 10s, 7 of 10s, and 8 of 10s. And then I run any unrated site after that, which is anything from like base up to, like I said, fleet staging point. And then I think for drones it'd be like, I think it's inheritance through a hierarchy or something. There's only 3 of them for drones. There's like independence, radiance, and hierarchy, I believe. So if you're in drone lands, you want to run those 3. I only loot commanders and overseers. So if I get a dread, like for Greasta space, if I get a dread Greasta commander spawn on any like a nom, I'll loot him. I'll loot any dread Greastas that I see in DD rated, and I'll loot every overseer in DD rated as well. That's really where the bulk of the loot comes in. If you do want to drop MTUs and then go back and salvage and loot all that, it's extra cash. But for me, I'd just rather run other sites than really worry too much about those. And then for combat noms, depending on how I'm feeling in the day, if you're in a Tech 2 battleship plus, which would be like if you're in a Tech 2 battleship, or if you're in a Marauder or something that's higher class than that, run Havens and Sanctums. Those will average you, if you're really spamming them, and you're going from one to the other pretty efficiently, you're gonna see, I want to say before ESS, you're gonna see like 20 mil ticks. So I would say pre-ESS, you're gonna be looking at roughly probably about 2 mil a minute on that, and then once you get paid from the ESS, it ends up being like 5 mil per minute. And then if you're running any Tech 2 or Tech 3 cruiser or any hacks, then I usually run rally points, ports, or hubs. Hacks would be your heavy assault cruisers like your Ishtars and things like that. And these usually don't have commanders in here, so they're really kind of just based on getting as much bounties for the kills as possible and just running them as fast as you can. Rally points ports, I mean, pre ESS, you're looking at probably 6 million a tick, and then it ends up being probably a roughly 10 to 14 mil post ESS, just depending on how fast you're running them. Which is actually, I bet it's kind of based on like the 20-minute tick anyway, because you know most of the time I'm not running them back to back because it just gets boring. I'll run like a hub or like a port and then chill out, and then you know if there's a SIG I'll go scan it and then run another one. But these are really kind of like lower end. Like if you're running a TX2 or Tech 3 cruiser or heavy assault cruiser, you really gotta this is all about volume, right? Just volume for these. Like you just want to run a ton of them to like you really get good ticks. Once you get into like the battleship kind of area and doing like havens and sanctums, you really don't have to do all that much. This should not be 2. This should, well, it's like 2 million per minute, and then so it ends up being roughly, I want to say 23 to 30 per tick. That's pre ESS, right? If you're running fast enough. So like an entire ESS cycle, which is like 2 hours 45 minutes or something like that, you could like stack. It's usually like 60 to, I would say 60 to 100 per hour for, if like at least for the golem. I can get like 100 hour or 100 mil per hour. But all this is really going to depend on kind of what you're running and what you're comfortable with. But what I do, there are days where I'll just run in with the Tech 3 cruiser and with the Tengu, and I'll just run like ports all day. And you know my tick, I guess this would be like just like if I only ran one port, I'd get a 6 mil tick. So I guess this is like, you know, this would technically be like 12, because you technically do, actually no, it's more than that. It's actually probably like 18, because you can probably do like 3 ports per 20 minutes. And then for this would be, we won't even do, I'm not even going to do this like per minute thing. It's just obnoxious. We'll just say these are like, if you're running them efficiently, that's like 18 per tick pre-ESS. And then we're going to clean this up too. I would say we'll do, these are going to be like, I can probably run 1.5, so these would be 20, probably, I would say these are probably like 30 a tick pre-ESS. Probably a little better way to look at it. And that's just kind of running chill. Because on average, before you get paid ESS, the Sanctum's probably going to be worth like 20 million, which you kill everything. And you can test this by just running a Sanctum and then just waiting for the tick. But Haven's Sanctums are where the money's at, right? And if you get, that means that this would technically relate. This would technically correlate to like 90 mil an hour. And then this would technically roughly be like probably 55 mil an hour, maybe something like that. But then you gotta just realize, like, you know, battleships are a lot slower. If you're running like golems and you're worried about bashing, you just like more things to worry about. That's why most of the time ports are just kind of super chill for me. I can just run them in the Tengu. I go out there to first little like lookout. I'll orbit that lookout after I kill like the stationary guns. I'll orbit that lookout for the entire run, and then once everything's dead, just warp to the next one and do the same thing. So if you're really getting lucky, you could, you know, come up to like 60 mil here, and this could be like, we'll do a range here because it does kind of vary a little bit. This would probably be like 50 to 65 mil an hour, roughly. But that's just kind of like what I do. And that's my routine. And the other thing too is, like, since you're only running, if you're running only one account, then your low end, if you want to pay for your Omega, then you're really only looking at, you know, making, if you make 90 million in a single day, every day of the month, that's on a 28-day month too, like 85, 86 million, that's gonna pay for your Omega. So once you get to the point where you're actually running all this big stuff, you're gonna just make pretty good ISK for very little time investment, right? You know, I see a lot of people like talking about like, oh well, you can do like 500 mil here doing abyssals, blah blah blah. There's a lot of cost and like risk assumption associated with like running like anything from like T5 and T6 abyssals, right? You're talking about like 3 bill plus bling fits with, you know, there's a chance you might lose that stuff, and like abyssals are great, I love them, right? But like null-sec, essentially risk-free, unbothered, and I can average 300 to a bill a day in like 2 to 3 hours. I'll take that over running abyssals, you know, because like even like T6 abyssals, the filament alone costs like 22 million, at least for exotics. Last time I did them, so that's all, you know, costs associated there too. And like obviously there's costs associated with running anything here, you know. I mean, I have missiles that I run, but the missile conversion rate, like the cost of missiles plus, you know, for the bounties that you get for using those missiles, it's great, right? The conversion rate is awesome. But I figured I'd just kind of crunch these numbers a little bit so you guys can kind of get a better idea of kind of like where I'm at and like what I'm doing. But yeah, in the next few videos we're gonna start like really kind of showing kind of just like the unedited kind of the unedited routine, I guess, and like what it looks like to actually run, you know, some of these anoms for like 1 to 2 hours, or and I mean I've covered the DED sites quite a bit for the Golem videos I've done, but I think just like knowing kind of what I do here on a daily basis might help some of you guys if you're looking for like how to fill some gaps. And obviously some people might want to play more than 3 hours, you know, that's kind of where I kind of hit the stopping point for me. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.